Stages 1 and 2 are, I guess, the biggest learning and education phase, and that is just, first of all, learning about the low back in general, learning about its parts, what makes it up, the muscles around it, how the vertebra function, what is their role within the lower back, what the vertebra do, what the muscles of the core are there to do. If you can understand that, it's going to put you in a better place when it comes to rehabilitation. Because one of the things that I've found in the industry is that a therapist, trainer, whoever it may be, they only need to know a little bit more than the person that they are treating or training. So they could have a small bit of information that the patient doesn't know, and they can sound like an expert. So the more you can upskill yourself, the more you'll be able to understand what it is the therapist or the trainer is saying, and you'll be able to not necessarily call it out, but you'll be able to see, okay, maybe this person doesn't know quite as much as they think they do. Just as if you take your car to a mechanic, you have no idea what the problem is, so they could literally say whatever they like, and you'll go, okay, I have no idea what you're on about, but I trust you because you're a professional, therefore go ahead and do it. Do the work that needs to be done. And it's exactly the same with a trainer and a therapist. So to me, there is quite a large responsibility on the trainer, on the therapist, to have a good understanding about the information that they're sharing. The second one, stage 2, is learning how the back gets or can get injured. Because a lot gets put down to genetics, but what a lot of people don't understand is the impact of posture, improper lifting, muscle imbalances, and because they aren't they never work in isolation, they're always working together, they impact each other. This then, it creates a bit of a grey area, and where people can get lost in information. So by understanding things like spine flexion, for example, can injure the spine if it's repeated enough, if it's loaded enough, if that's done every single day, and if it's done multiple times a day, that again is going to speed up that whole process. And if you know about the anatomy of the disc, about the gel that sits in the middle and the fibres that go around it, and how spine flexion can impact those fibres and loosen those fibres and allow the gel-like fluid to migrate through, you start to see how spine flexion can create a disc bulge or disc herniation. Now, as I mentioned, they don't work in isolation. There are multiple factors going on. And again, that term likes to be bandied around, multiple factors, because it makes it sound more confusing. So people go, oh God, there's multiple factors. Okay, that's enough information. There's multiple factors. I'm not going to understand those multiple factors. So it comes down to the therapist or the trainer or the teacher, whoever it may be, to be able to lay out those multiple factors. And this is what the Christopher Hole Academy is all about. It's about sharing these stages that I'm talking about here. Obviously, there's going to be a lot more detail in the academy because I'm able to put them all into short courses and then essentially lay out all the different mechanisms. But as I say, there are many different mechanisms outlined in science. This is all referenced. So there are many different mechanisms, but we have to at least lay them out so we can then start to have a grasp of what's going on here. So if we take disc herniation as an example, so what I'll do now is I'll just lay out an example. Two people, both have a disc herniation, and person A had it 2 years ago and is still in pain. Person B had it 3 months ago and still is in pain. Now, and also person A has pain, so the person that had disc herniation 2 years ago only has pain going into the buttocks and into the hamstring, whereas person B, who had a disc herniation 3 months ago, and this is all, let's just say this is all shown on MRI scan, so you can see that there is a disc herniation there. But they've got pain going all the way down into the foot, some into the toes, and sometimes into the toes, and so on and so forth. So they're both in pain. It's different types of pain, and they're disc herniations as well, but they happened at different times. Now, person A, I'm going to say their pain is potentially coming from glute medius trigger points, whereas person B, who had it 3 months ago, is coming from the disc herniation itself. Now, how can I say that? Because if you learn about disc herniations, and if you learn that they can heal themselves, and they will heal over time. Now, depending on who you read, it can take 6 months to 2 years for a disc herniation or a disc bulge to heal itself. So that is outside of the window. So they had it so person A, who had it 2 years ago, their disc herniation has potentially healed. Now, if you didn't know that, if you didn't understand the anatomy, how it functions, how it becomes injured, you wouldn't know that. But hopefully a therapist or a trainer does. Now, if they understand that, what they should be thinking is, that might not be the disc anymore, because that should and could have healed by now. So the pain has to be coming from somewhere else. So they might investigate in a different area and try and find somewhere else. They may, and I would recommend investigating the spine. Is that still injured? So it may be worth going back for an MRI. It may be doing some physical tests on it. But I would also go somewhere else and look for it. Whereas person B is still inside that 6 month period of the shortest time of when a disc should heal. So to me, that would be, okay, that sounds more like the disc is causing the problem and not somewhere else. But again, if you didn't have the knowledge of that, now there would be more factors, but if you didn't have the knowledge of that, then you would think, well, disc herniation for both people, I need to treat the disc, I need to treat the spine. So this is why education is so important, and just learning about the anatomy. Because if you can learn about the anatomy, your body will basically tell you what's going on. And as I've talked about, or as I've mentioned, this is what the Christopher Hall Training Academy is all about. What used to be the How to Overcome Lower Back Pain course, I've broken it up into short courses, which is now more manageable to sort of understand. Because the first part is just understand your lower back. What's all the anatomy? Then the next part is how does it get injured? And then we go on to stages 3 and 4, which is about looking for the specific triggers and how to reduce them. So what we'll do now is we'll go on to those two parts and look at them in a little bit more detail.